Confucius said, establish yourself at 30, and that will be on my tombstone, I think. When I was 30, the Rockefeller Foundation suggested that they might be willing to sponsor somebody to study about the Chinese legal system. When I decided I would jump at this opportunity, most people who knew me and were charitable thought I must be having a nervous breakdown. I had to show what the Chinese call Geming Ji Lu, revolutionary discipline, studying my Chinese characters. I was in the class of 1951 at Yale College. In February '51, in my last semester, a sign went up on the student bulletin board. Mr. John Jones of the Central Intelligence Agency will be here next Tuesday to interview graduating seniors. We tried to find out what kind of work is he recruiting us for? And the man was hopelessly vague. He said, I'll give you a hypothetical, but mark you, it's purely hypothetical. We might want to train you and then drop you into communist China to help organize resistance against the new government. And I said, gosh, that sounds awfully dangerous. And he said, during the last war, the CIA lost fewer casualties than the infantry. And I said, you mean on a relative or absolute basis? And he said, I don't think you're seriously interested. I said, you're right. And I walked out. But I had classmates who were. And one of those people who qualified was a very nice person named Jack Downey. And November 27th, 1952, he was shot down over China. Downey and the other American, Richard Fecteau, were captured, and nobody knew what had happened to them. Finally, just 2 years later, China announces these people had been convicted of espionage. Downey was sentenced to life imprisonment. Beginning 1954, many of our classmates were trying to get Downey out of prison. By 1966, we had our 15th class reunion. They said I should be responsible for getting him out. I was the first American lawyer in China. Indeed, there was a period I was the only lawyer in China. I brought in a few colleagues and we set up shop in the Peking Hotel. There were no office buildings we were allowed to be in. The problem was the US government always denied that these people were CIA agents. They said these two fellows were on an authorized flight from Seoul, Korea to Tokyo in Japan. And their plane had blown 1,000 miles off course into Liaoning province by a storm. And there, those terrible Chinese shot them down. And we clung to that story until I made the American government tell the truth. We had to give the Chinese government face. We had to admit somehow that these people were spies. I remember how conservative they were. They were coming out of the Senator Joe McCarthy era. Anybody who spoke up anything favorable about communist China might have his career ended. They found a way. It was very clever.
The war's over.
Nixon made a big announcement. The U.S. decided it would pull its troops out of Vietnam. And then there's a question, say, does this mean the release of Jack Downey in China?
Downey is a different case, as you know. Downey involves a CIA agent, and we have also discussed that with Premier Chon Lai.
Next question, back to Vietnam. Chinese didn't miss this. This was very clear. On March 12, 1973, Downey came out. And that was the first case I had of trying to get people out of prison in China. And having seen the progress China has made since the legal system open policy began in late '78, you have to be impressed. Rome wasn't built in a day. China is a vast place, and to move as fast as it has in 20-odd years it's progress. But the job is far from finished. The glass is only half full. And it's a very exciting venture.